Hi. Yeah. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? I
Oh,
was
you
like,
know.
I feel like I should do something here.
No, it's supposed to be all me, and I was like, you were the first one on, and I was like, amazing. You never know with technology these days,
You
so
never know.
you never know. How you doing?
Good, lady. How are you?
Oh, good. Just
Surviving?
quarantine with toddlers. It's so much fun. I want to do it all the time. Thank you for this experience,
It's
life.
a lot.
Yes, I know you know. We're in it together.
Yes. Yes.
Well, thank you for doing this. Thanks
My
for taking
pleasure.
some time out and doing this. I know people are very excited.
Good. Me
So,
too.
yeah.
These things help my sanity as well. So
Me
I'm
too.
always happy to do
Me
it.
too. And it's just nice to see other people and feel like I'm doing something with my life.
Well, and to have a talk about things that we do,
Yeah.
on in normal times.
Yeah.
It helps.
It does help because I mean, when we all go back after this, I feel like we're going to be a little shell shocked. You know.
Yeah. It's gonna be one of those things where I feel like every audition is gonna take an extra 15 minutes of just being like,
Totally.
are you okay? How did you
Yeah.
do?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I can't imagine because it's such a muscle, that I think that a really great thing that's coming out of all of us doing these challenges and these open calls is just more than anything making sure that they're able to exercise those muscles because it does get rusty.
Yeah,
I get rusty,
right?
I'm like, how do I talk to you?
how do I brush my hair?
Yeah, exactly.
No, I was saying to somebody that it's so important right now for anybody who's artistic, actors,
Yes.
of course, but writers and casting directors, whatever.
Yeah.
That our creative muscles don't atrophy
Yes.
along with our bodies.
Yes.
Right?
Actors atrophy. I love that.
So whatever it takes to keep it flowing and keep the juice rolling.
Totally. I love it. So we got a lot of really cool questions.
Okay. Cool.
So let's just dive right in. If anyone has any questions, I encourage you to use the question box so that we can all see, but we did get a lot of great questions ahead of time, so I'm just going to roll through those.
Cool.
I want to start with the monologue challenge because that was such an amazing challenge. I don't know if you guys saw how many monologues that came in, but it was over 1,500. That's unbelievable. And I know that people are getting an insane amount of tapes coming in for just open calls, but monologues, you guys. These aren't monologues. They're monologues, which is a lot,
I really wasn't anticipating it because so many people hate monologues.
Yeah, I know. They're not the most fun to do, and it's hard to find a good monologue.
Well, that's the thing, right? Is that like unless you have one that you've already sort of worked on, whatever, they are hard to find in terms of you have to really connect with them.
Yes.
And a lot of people these days just don't have them anymore.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting, but
I was blown away.
It was awesome.
I mean, from my own perspective, I couldn't believe how many good monologues I saw. I was kind of like, okay, I'll probably not watch the entire, I was sucked into so many that like David was yelling at me from the other room, like, are you done yet? Are you done yet? Like,
sorry, David.
Sorry. Sorry. He needed the extra time, I'm sure he did. Yes. But talking about those, what someone asked was, you just watched 1 million monologues, which is true.
Yes.
What are the takeaways that you had from that for actors? Like watching, was there anything that you took away from that might be helpful for actors?
Well, first, and I think most importantly, is that this whole horrible situation is not stifling people's creative juices. I mean, I was deeply moved by some of these, and and that includes hysterical laughing, by the world is on fire, and for people to just be able to completely tune it out and create these characters and form these monologues into something so special. It's just it really sort of filled my cup in a lot of ways. So there's that, right? That, like the ability to go on creatively is absolutely possible. And there people are doing it. So that's not just actors, but I assume that's across the board, right? the other thing is that some folks did a really great job of taking a monologue that's from a theater piece, right, which is performed for
live audience,
for the masses, for the live audience, for the balcony, whatever. And they were able to bring it and make it small for something that is a foot away from your face, right?
Yeah, that was amazing.
And that doesn't always work. I've seen, and vice versa, because every year when we cast the Young Playwrights Festival, it's all monologues.
Right.
And people will bring in film and TV monologues to do on stage.
Right.
And that doesn't always translate either, because those aren't meant for the balcony.
Right.
But I think a lot of people really manage to just connect to the character and the moment, and not worry about where they were sending it necessarily. And that was really great too. And I was talking with a few actors who did them, and a couple of them were like, yeah, that was just my first take. I just did it in one take. And I was like, that's kind of how these should be. With a monologue from theater, you get one shot at it a night.
Right.
So that's fine. And that's kind of how, whenever I teach my self-taping classes, I always encourage people not to do a take a million times.
Yeah.
It's not getting better.
Right.
It's going to be within your first couple. It's right there. And then if you want to watch it back and just tweak something very specifically, the same thing with these monologues. If you can get these things in one take, you've done it before. You do it in live auditions all the time.
Yeah.
So I just thought it was really nice to see that people just trusted that instinct to just do it once and have it be what it was, and it worked. It really worked.
Yeah. I thought it was amazing how people knew what monologues to choose for them and what worked for them. Even if it was actors that I'm familiar with, like I think you were watching my other live when I talked about hate acting.
I missed that one.
And there's nothing worse than watching an actor hate act a scene.
Right.
God forbid, hate act a monologue. Like, they're choosing this because they think it's a good monologue, or because they think that's what casting directors want to see, but they don't actually connect with it. It doesn't actually resonate with them.
Right.
And I didn't see a lot of that. I saw a lot of monologues where people were like, this monologue really moves me, which then moved me, Yes. So I think that my takeaway was, choosing something that you really resonate with and connect with, because that's going to just translate so much better.
Yeah.
And I did notice those who didn't rush, because I know that there's a little bit of a time restraint with, you want to make sure that you're not going on for 5 minutes, but those who really didn't rush those moments had a much more profound effect with me, at least.
Yeah. It's, and there were, there's a couple of sort of common monologue traps. Monologues, they're just very self-indulgent, just in terms of what they are, right? Yeah. So they can come off as self-indulgent. They can come off as over-rehearsed, right?
Yes, totally.
The other thing that I saw a lot of, because I watched 750 of them, right, or thereabouts.
I don't even know. And she has a child, you guys. Like, she's not like by herself twiddling her thumbs. Like, that is just, you're a saint.
You just gotta power through sometimes, and ignore your husband and child.
Ignore your children.
So, but what happens sometimes with the dramatic monologues is that people will cry and beautiful, wonderful. Yeah. But they'll let the tears just fall and not wipe them away.
Oh.
And for me, that starts to fall into the self-indulgent part of the monologue, because it's like, look at me. And because in real life, we don't ever do that.
That's so true. That's so true. Yes.
Nodding everywhere, whatever.
Yeah.
And so for me, the people who take the second to address the tears somehow, that even has a bigger impact on me. Because and it's not that the people who just let the tears fall aren't good.
Right.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
but it's the ones that I connect with are the ones who take the beat to wipe it, or to try to suck it back up the way that we humans do.
Oh my gosh, that is such a great
that's sort of
nugget.
What gets right to my heart, is watching somebody struggle to control it.
Yes. And I think that's another thing too that I tell actors is no one likes to cry in front of another person. No. You know, we can be feeling all of these emotions, but I'm not looking forward to bawling my eyes out in front of somebody else. So fighting that emotion is, you know, a large part of it most of the time. I mean, sometimes there's a release or whatever, but knowing who you're talking to and where they're at in their grieving process, most of the time they're not looking forward to bawling their eyes out in front of another person. So that's a
and it's, you know, the vulnerability is absolutely beautiful. But you know, you can do something with it to you know, humanize the moment even more than just sort of letting the emotion be what catches us. Is pulling that emotion back. Is so powerful.
That's such great advice, because I know you're gonna have another challenge soon.
Yes.
Right? Have you figured it out yet?
Yeah, I'm still working it out, but we're gonna announce it next week.
Okay.
Yes.
Exciting. Okay, someone said, what's the most common note that you would say you give actors in the room?
Breathe.
Yes.
I think that without question, because it affects everything.
Yeah, what's going to call?
You know, it affects everything. It affects their pace. It affects their ability to listen. They're in their head or in their body. It has just, it's everything. And of course, you know, audition nerves, the first thing to go is your breath. You know, you're nervous and you stop breathing, and then you stop connecting, and then you stop listening, and then you're in your head. Whatever.
Right.
So, and you can feel it. I mean, you know this, right? Like when you're in the room and you feel somebody not breathing fully. I stop breathing. Yes. It literally is physically uncomfortable for me. And so that's almost always the note.
And
it's one of those things where like they may know what's happening but are afraid to stop. And start over. So they'll just kind of muscle through not breathing.
And we're totally in tune with that, or vice versa. They need to breathe and they release all this energy out with like this right before an emotional moment. This is something I see where they're like, and then they're supposed to like yell at someone or, you know, just have this big vulnerable moment, and they've already released all that energy because of nerves or whatever it is. And it's an exercise, you know, to kind of learn how to breathe, but you really want to use that breath for what you're about to do.
Well, your breath is everything. I mean, it propels your emotions, your adrenaline. It connects, like I said, it connects your head to your body. It's sort of what it helps you with your volume control and your voice control, all of that stuff. It's everything, but it's also the first thing to go when you're nervous.
I know.
And you walk into the audition room. So it's, you know, so I would say that is without question the number one.
And I think that's a thing that you kind of just learn in time, you know, is how to be in tune with your breath, but it's hard. It's probably the hardest part.
Well, and some people, you know, and you've been in the room with me when we've experienced this as well, but some people, doesn't matter how long they've been in the business, doesn't matter how long they've been acting or auditioning, they could have been auditioning as a professional actor for 40 years, they will still walk in and get flop sweat or get, you know, patchy redness around their neck, or, you know, just lose their breath. And it's just, you know, audition anxiety is a real thing, and it's just something to be aware of and forgive yourself.
It's also a thing on set. You know, I've experienced many actors who are like, I don't know what happened. You know, I do this all the time. This isn't my first job, and whatever it is, you know. But there's a lot of grounding techniques that you can do that we can discuss at a later time, but I highly suggest doing a grounding techniques Google search. I find it helpful in in my own
right?
life, you know? Yeah. Especially right now, I find that I'm having to ground myself. There's a tree, there's a bird. It's okay.
Good thing.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. It's
That's
okay.
good advice.
Yes.
The tree.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Slates. Somebody asked, and I think this is going to pertain a lot to right now, especially with self-taping, because when you go and slate in person, generally we'll give you slating instructions, so you're not shooting in the dark. But when you're slating on a self-tape, what do you think? Do you think actors should give a moment to show their personality? Should they be slating in character? I mean, I have my own thoughts on this, but I want to hear your thoughts.
I mean, I get questions about slates more.
I know,
right?
I know.
And what I always try to remind actors is that your slate is for information. It is for information.
Yes.
It is not a performance. It is not a test of your cinematography. It's not a test of how clean your apartment is. It's not any of those things. It is truly just for information. It helps A, hear how you pronounce your name.
Yeah.
B, gives us perspective on your height, if that's what we're asking for. And then all of the other things that we're asking you to say is for information, because we need to know where you are or who your rep is, or let's just, organize our tapes if we ask you to say what role you're reading for, or we ask your availability, anything like that.
Yeah.
It's for information. So the only people I would ever possibly advise to read in character, and it's not really in character.
Yeah.
These are the people who are doing an accent.
Right.
That they want, so for like the Brits who are doing a standard American accent, unless your standard American is so good.
Yeah.
It's sort of like a magic trick for to slate in your own accent.
Right.
Maybe slate in your American accent.
In your own accent. Yeah. Sometimes it's kind of mind-blowing when you see an actor do a whole scene in American and they're like, and thank you so much, my name. And we're like, what? It's so crazy. But the nice thing about that, even if they're American, is absolutely perfect, is because if they slate in their native accent, then, that's really good information to know. Now we want to know if you have a green card or a visa, So that's right. And so that's just, I wouldn't have known that sometimes if they hadn't done that. So it is helpful to know. That's a really good point. The other thing I will say is a lot of times, we ask for a full body slate, and I'll see this like long dramatic pan down, and I'm like, 12 years later,
people will do panning slates when they are required to do full body slates, but they don't have space, right? Yeah. We see these a lot from New Yorkers, especially because there's no room for them to back up far enough.
Yeah.
The problem with panning slates is that, and I'm sure you've experienced this, Romney, they're not that helpful.
They're not.
You can't get any sort of perspective. It's like, what am I looking at?
You could be 7'8" and we wouldn't know.
Right. Or they're super slow like that, so they start to feel pornographic.
Yeah.
Right? Or they're so
like,
fast that you're like,
down by the crotch, we're like, okay, what am I watching?
Oh God, it's just so uncomfortable. And inevitably it comes back up to the actor's face and they're like, like that was just the worst up and down.
It's so awkward. It's arguably more awkward than profiles,
It's oh my gosh, it's just so uncomfortable. Yeah. So I would avoid the pan.
Yeah, if possible.
However you can.
Yeah.
But again, if you've got a small space, just see what you can do to figure it out.
Because
what I've seen some people do is they will sort of do a side by side, so that the one panel is the sort of like this frame where I'm like, hi, I'm Erica Bream, I'm 5'5", I'm based here. And then this panel is a still photo of them in a full body shot.
I have never seen that, but that's pretty smart.
Yes.
You're like, I'm in New York and I have a studio apartment, and literally if I back up as far as I can, you're not getting past my knees.
Right.
There's an option.
Right. So I'm going to take one photo and just use
here's me in a field. Yeah. That's amazing. You've seen it. I mean, you've seen an ungodly amount of self-tapes, so that's really great advice.
Yes.
Okay. So many questions that I'm going to breeze through.
Okay.
Okay. So someone said, and this is going to apply to a lot of people, and of course, I'm sure our thoughts on this are going to be similar, but someone said, I have reps. I just got new headshots. I've been here for over a year, which arguably isn't even that long of a time, but they've been here. They're not newbies anymore per se, and I'm not getting in the room. Like, what am I doing wrong?
Nothing is the answer. First of all, everybody's journey is different, and sometimes it doesn't happen within a year.
Like many times,
as you said, a year is arguably not that long.
Yeah.
So there's that piece of it, right? But the other piece of it is, how are all of those things working in conjunction with each other?
Yeah.
New headshots are great, but are they the right headshots?
Mm-hmm.
Reps are great, but how are they working for you? Because all agents and managers function a little bit differently.
That's
right?
True.
So, and then in terms of getting in the room, that comes with time. And, there are so many things that casting directors look for. Where are you training? What are you doing when you're not auditioning? Are you on the stage? Are you doing short films? Where are you in class? Things like that. So if they're not seeing that, then maybe that's something to think about.
Yeah.
If you have a reel up, but the reel is not strong enough, that could be working against you. If you don't have a reel up, that could be part of the issue as well, so that we can't hear your voice. We can't get any sort of sense. Your headshots aren't giving us enough.
Right.
There are so many factors to it. And the other piece of it is, how specific are you? Are you 20 years old and beautiful, or are you 55 years old and charactery, and there's just huge goals for you? So everybody's experience is different. Actors are apples and oranges. No actor is the same as another one. Okay. You've got different reps, different backgrounds, different life experiences, all of those things which color your world as an actor. So the best thing I can say to somebody who's sort of struggling like that, I mean, obviously now,
right, we're all struggling.
Don't worry about it right now. It's just really to have a sit down or a conversation with your reps and see if they have any specific feedback from casting directors. Are they hearing like, we don't love her reel? Are they just, can they not get clients in at all with that person? Like what exactly is the issue? But the person who at least has maybe an idea is your agent, because they're the one sort of getting the immediate feedback. Yeah. So start there. Yeah. And then see what you can do to help them help you get in the room.
I think that's all great advice. And I always tell, look, every casting director is different. Every casting office is different. I know you're always more than happy to give specific feedback if an agent asks for it. And I am too. I mean, that's really, in my opinion, the least we can do to kind of help each other. I mean, many times agents and managers will ask for like, can I hop on a call with you for 1 minute, and you just tell me like, he came out of Juilliard and like he's doing everything right, like what was it? And I'll be honest and say, he came in super sweet, but just I really try. I gave him 3 takes. I gave him very specific direction, and he just couldn't take it. And so that's something to consider. And so I think definitely ask obviously everyone is different, everyone has a different journey, but I think and like I said, every office is different. Maybe some people aren't willing to give feedback that quickly, but that's a really great way to start and get really constructive criticism or feedback.
And the thing to remember is that sometimes feedback is just, they're doing a good job.
Yeah. They were great. Or I absolutely loved them. Oh my God, they blew my mind. I can't wait to show them to producers. Like, I'm so excited about this person, and they're not the choice.
Right. And they don't get the job.
Yeah, they don't get the job.
So that's what you have to remember, is that, it's a subjective industry.
Yeah.
Everything's a little bit different. But if you're not getting in the room, your agent might have an idea why, or they might be able to give you an idea as to what you could work on to help your cause, because they're seeing who is from their roster, who is getting into those rooms. Yeah. So they're the best place to start. They're your team, and they want you to succeed. They're not making money if you're not. So start there. And then if there's more feedback to give or other things to try. Also now, this time with us quarantined and with the world on fire, is there's so many people doing things like we did with the monologue challenge. They're doing open calls, they're doing generals, they're doing online meetings, they're doing all that stuff, and it's free. Take advantage of it. If you've got the time and the you know, mental health, of course, is very important. But the time and the sanity to do it, then do it. This is your chance to get that foot in the door. It's open.
Someone's been using the hashtag hack your quarantine, and I kind of love that.
What is it? Quarantine?
Hack your quarantine. Like, it's true. I mean, like, we're all in this kind of shitty situation. See what you can do to make lemonade out of it, you know? Hack your quarantine. So I like that. Totally. But I totally agree. Okay. And I'm just going to say, someone said, how can we make the most out of our time as an actor during COVID-19? Exactly what you just said. You know,
check it out. I mean, really, there's so many things, and you know, if people are watching this, they're on Instagram. So many of these things have been posted on Instagram. So you know, everybody is doing something a little bit different. Not everybody is doing everything. I mean, there are all kinds of circumstances right now, and you know, don't try to bully people into doing something who aren't already doing it. I saw somebody on Twitter ask a casting director when they were going to do something like this during the quarantine. I was like,
it's are you going to start on Tuesday or
and like I totally understand the, you know, the passion behind that, but like you don't know somebody's circumstance right now. People, you don't know if somebody has a family member who's sick, or if they're just, you've got 2 kids at home and are trying to figure out how to homeschool or
it's like, overwhelming for sure. That's a really great point. Somebody asked if I'm sitting next to a famous actor on set. Kirsten, I don't know if you watched Live with Kirsten. She kind of addressed this in the most hilarious way.
Oh, I can't wait to hear what Kirsten said.
But it's kind of funny because it's true. You're on set. And if you haven't watched her live, this answers a lot of questions, but we'll kind of repeat it. If you're on set and you're sitting next to a famous actor or someone who you think might be able to help your career in any way, should you take advantage of it? What can I do? Do I just sit there and mind my business, or is it okay if I say something outside of what I'm supposed to be doing?
I mean, if what I would say to you is think about what you would want, right? Like if you were the famous person, what would you want? Would you want to be able to just focus on what you're doing and just make easy small talk, you know, in between cuts? Or would you know, and everybody's different. That's what you also have to remember. But when you're on set, you're working. So I would say, you know, be careful to not overstep in that instance. We've, you know, those of us who have been in this industry long enough have heard all kinds of stories like that from people from set, actors who are trying to mentally, emotionally prepare for what they're about to do. And have to walk away from the person, and then they feel weird about it. Whatever, you know.
Don't make it awkward.
It's just the whole thing. So I would say if you're in that situation and you are sitting next to the famous person, think about what you would want if you were the famous person sitting next to somebody who is a day player or whatever. You know.
And
what
you
did
know
Kirsten
what kind of day
I'm
they
dying to know
had.
what Kirsten said.
She was very specific and said all of the same things, but she also said she's a very nice person, as you well know, and she feels bad, and so it just puts her in a really awkward situation because she's like, look, dude, you're like the 10th co-star this day, you know, like you and everyone else is trying, like I'm just trying to, like, or she's had like an off day, you know, and she's just like thinking about whatever the hell she wants to think about, and she doesn't really want to, you know, chit chat with the 10th stranger today, and so it puts her in this really guilty position, which is not really fair, you know. But you know, obviously, if they start talking to you and they start the conversation and they're like, "Where are you from?" Blah blah blah. Like you can answer, you know. Absolutely. But let them open that door because they have been on this specific set a lot longer than you have, and they're going, you know, they have their own thoughts and their own whatever that they're going through. So, just please don't take that as your, 5-minute pitch.
Yes.
Long story short.
This is one of my things. So, for me, people always ask me if I go visit set. I can't stand visiting.
Me neither.
Because I'm so hyper aware that people are there working, like doing very specific jobs. And what am I doing? Visiting, crafty, talking to people, getting in the way. I always feel like I'm in the way.
I have this uncanny ability that no matter where I step, there's someone trying to get, I could be up against the wall out of everyone's way, and no matter what I do, someone inevitably will say, with like a giant prop, excuse me. And I'm like, you know what? I don't need to be here. I'm going to go back to my casting trailer, put my headphones on.
Right? And I check my phone 50 million times because I'm like, is it on silent? Is it silent?
I know.
Is it silent? Don't be that person. Is it silent?
I know. My God. That actually happened to me once, and I was like, never going back again. I don't need to be here. They don't need me here. I'm not helpful.
Yeah. I feel trapped when they're doing a take, and then I'm like, no, I can't move. I can't breathe.
Yeah. And it's also not that interesting. It's like, I know, obviously everyone watching loves being on set.
Of course.
I'm just like, oh my God, we're going to do the scene for like the millionth time. When's lunch?
This is why you guys are actors, because you're good at doing these things. And this is why we're in casting where we don't have to go to set.
Yes, exactly. I don't know if you'll know this off the top of your head, but somebody asked what your most memorable audition moment was.
Oh my God. I have a million.
But,
oh man, the one that always comes to mind, it was the most uncomfortable I've ever been.
Oh no.
And also like, I lost my mind. So on Criminal Minds, this was like season 3, maybe 4. I don't know.
I should have guessed uncomfortable was going to be Criminal Minds.
Right. So I was, we had a spring break episode, and we called it our hot people episode because, that's just not necessarily what you need on Criminal Minds all the time is hot people.
Right.
But they very specifically were like, everybody in this episode needs to be hot. Right. So in the teaser, there was supposed to be this like, very hot, sexy guy on a boat, and he's like dancing up on a girl, and they're kind of starting to make out, and then he leans the girl over the edge of a boat, and a body floats up in the water, and she sees it, and
she screams, "Cut, Criminal Minds, dude!"
Yeah, right. Exactly. And so these guys came in, and I was reading with them, and my dialogue was like, "Oh yeah, oh my God," it was just like really uncomfortable dialogue.
Yeah.
And this guy came in. He was the most gorgeous man I've ever seen in my life. I mean, like, just the perfect Latin face, body, just so good looking, like the definition of perfection.
Oh man.
And he starts sort of, I'm like 5 feet away from him, right? Nowhere near him.
Yeah.
And he starts sort of just kind of like dancing and humping the air, and he didn't take his shirt off, but he kind of like pulled his shirt up a little bit so you could see a little skin.
Yeah.
And he's just like, never saying the sexy words, and I'm supposed to be reading something with him, and I feel like I'm about to start giggling like a schoolgirl. So instead, I just don't say anything, and I just stand there like this the whole time. and he finishes his scene and whatever, and he leaves, and I'm supposed to be walking the actors out and then bringing the next actor in, and I walked him out, and I got to the door, and I closed it, and I just lost it, and I started laughing so hard I started crying. I was bright red. It was me in a room with all men, so it was just you? Like, so all the producers were men, the writers of that episode were men, the director was a man.
This was a producer session?
Yes, it was a producer session.
Oh my God.
And I just lost my mind. I mean, literally lost my mind. I was sweating. I was crying.
Oh my God. That is hilarious.
I couldn't stop laughing. Finally, like, calm myself down enough to get the next person. I bring him in, and he starts doing his scene, and I started laughing, and I just couldn't. Wait,
you brought him back in again, or was it the next guy?
Different guy. And this poor guy was like, "You all right?" And I was like, "I'm sorry. I'm gonna need some time."
That is so funny. And it's actually really funny because I was gonna say my funniest audition moment, and it's almost identical it was on Criminal Minds, and I laughed. I don't know if Becky's watching this right now, but she'll remember this. It wasn't, to be fair, it wasn't like it wasn't as great of a reason to laugh. It wasn't like I was like slapped in the face with hotness. I wish that was the reason, but it was the scene. I really hope Becky's watching right now because it's really funny. But the unsub, which is the bad guy, you know, in the episode, basically reverts back to like his infancy.
Oh God.
And has to like sing a lullaby that his mom sang to him to like comfort himself. And so most people sang like Twinkle Twinkle, you know, and so I was kind of like, and I was reading with them and I was kind of used to that, and someone just decided to use some obscure lullaby that I had never heard of, and I don't know why, but I couldn't stop. I just bursted out laughing in the middle of the scene, and he was like, did I do something wrong? You know, and I was like, oh no, I just never expected that, you know. And the worst part of it was I couldn't get my giggles together. I couldn't. I was like, come on, Rom, you are a professional. Like, get your shit together. And I felt so bad, but I just thought it was so funny.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah.
Somebody asked, by the way, if the hot guy got the role, and he did. He
did?
I mean, he was
okay, good.
So hot.
Oh my God.
so good at dry rating in the air.
That is hilarious.
Yeah, you did get the role. But yeah, it's the hardest thing is getting over the giggles once they start, right? Yes. The other hardest thing is holding in a cough.
Oh my God.
You know what I'm talking about? Where all of a sudden you're like crying and snotting and not.
And it's always in a producer session to me, or like a test. And like, oh, I have to like cough up a lung right now. And this girl is bawling in front of me. I will honestly, I would rather collapse and like,
don't ruin the take.
Don't do it.
The take.
Yeah.
I know. It's a lot. It's so hard.
We care about you guys.
I know. Really. I was the associate for the House of Lies pilot, right? With when Felicia Fasano cast the pilot, and I was her associate. So I was running the camera, and we were doing a mix and match with the guys, and they were welcomed and allowed to improvise. The producer said, please feel free to improvise, go for it, whatever. And we had people like Ben Schwartz in there, and you know, and Josh Lashton, who those are the two that's rap, but like so many of these other guys who I don't think I should name right now come in, who are like master improvisers. Yeah. And I was running the camera. So when you're running the camera and they aren't mic'd, you are the loudest. Like you're breathing, you're coughing, any of that.
Oh my God, I know.
So I'm sitting, running the camera, watching these improvisers who are so funny. And I'm just like about to explode in the back. But God forbid I laugh out loud and ruin the take, right? Like you can't do it.
I'm so used to doing drama. I know, you know, like that's the bulk of what I've done with you, but right before this was doing a comedy series, and I'm not used to that. And I was doing it with Lindsay, and every time an actor would do something funny, I would crack up, and she's like, "You're so funny. Look at you laughing at them." And I'm like, I don't know how to act, you know, like it's funny. I'm so not used to it. I got such a kick out of it. I thought it was so fun.
But it
actually, it was great because she was like, she's used to doing comedy. She mostly does comedy. She's like, honestly, the actors love it. The producers love hearing it. Like, knock yourself out. So I'm in every take, like, you just hear me giggling. And once in a while, a snort is thrown in there. Can't help it. Like, I've been suppressed for how many years not being able to laugh in auditions. So.
Yes, casting serial killers and
oh my God,
warlords and shit like that.
Jesus. More comedy, please.
More.
That was really fun. Somebody asked if I don't have any credits, you know, I'm just starting out, I'm assumed they're training or trained or still training. And I want to sort of start getting myself out there, but I don't have any theater, television, film credits. Like, how do I construct a resume out of that?
With your training, you know, so know that you will get credits, and that's fine. But your training is important. I mean, it shows that you're taking the craft seriously. I mean, I've seen resumes, and you know, this is not the ideal example, but you know, kids coming out of drama programs, university drama programs,
yeah.
their resume will say, you know, the theater that they did in school, and then it'll say training, you know, Juilliard or Tisch or Columbia, where Oklahoma University. It doesn't matter where you went. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Right.
So whatever, that's all you need to get started. You know, it's just a show that that you are taking it seriously as a craft. So it's fine to have an entire resume of training, and just make sure that you are self-submitting when you're ready to do so for the things like the short films and the student films and the web stuff and whatever. You know, you got to start somewhere.
You got to start somewhere.
You know, I was a student filmmaker, and we were so grateful for real actors who were willing to be in our student films. Because otherwise we were just using our roommates and our friends.
Yeah, I know. Yes.
You know, and so to have somebody who's considered a professional actor available and willing was huge. Yeah. You know, and they can be really worthy and really valuable for experience, and not to mention, you know, you're helping future filmmakers out. You are getting your own experience. Sometimes the experience is just, thank you for showing me what I don't want to do. You know, sometimes that's the experience.
You have to learn along the way. Yeah,
you very much do. So you got to start somewhere. You know, and it's completely fine to have a resume that looks otherwise empty until you start getting some credits. It's fine. It's gonna happen before you know it.
Totally. And we're used to seeing that. And one of the gals that we cast on Tell Me Your Secrets had nothing on it.
Nothing.
And she got the lead. So, you know.
And is now a lead somewhere else, too.
I know. So you do have to start somewhere. And we are used to seeing resumes like that. We understand. And usually the agent or manager, like they did in her situation, explained, you know, she just graduated from school. She's fresh, you know, ready to start doing this, but, you know, you're not going to see a lot on her resume, and that's fine, you know. Sorry, I get so distracted by these questions.
I know, me too. I try not to look at them too much because I lose my train of thought.
Somebody said that extras are not the same as actual acting. Like when people put featured on their resume, like say someone's been doing a lot of background work and they're wanting to list that on their resume.
Well, featured is different than background.
True.
Because featured means that you are on camera for a specific moment or reaction.
Right.
So there is some acting to that.
Yeah.
Background is different. Background is you walking through the scene.
Right. You're doing a cross.
Sitting at the table or whatever, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
You are part of the ambiance, a very important part of the ambiance. But it's not the same as acting on camera. But featured is, you know, that really is. But it should not, your resume should not be a list of just a regular background. If you are a child, I don't mind seeing background on a resume then, because it shows me that child has some professional experience on a set. Because it's harder with kids to be like, this is how you behave on a set.
Right.
Hopefully it's easier with adults.
You
know. But I don't mind seeing it there, just because it shows me that they understand what it's like and how it works and the terminology and things like that. Yeah.
I'm listening to you. I'm just looking for some of these.
That's fine. Go for it.
These questions. A lot of self-taping questions.
Okay.
Which we can get to in a second.
Okay.
Oh, okay. This is actually a good one.
Oh, cool.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this happens a lot, you know, when we get, and I'm going to tweak this question a little bit. We'll see a self-tape and maybe we're familiar with that actor and it wasn't the best audition, or we could tell it was a good audition, but there's like a toddler in the background, you know, or something. I've seen auditions where a cow crossed behind them. You know, they did it like outside at like their parents' farm, and I was like, was that a cow?
That's a new one for me. I don't think I've ever had that.
That was a memorable one.
I bet.
But yeah, I'll let you kind of talk about like what
so self-tape. Okay. Yeah. You know, self-taping we know is just a completely different beast. It's very easy to get in your head about self-taping, about the technical quality or the, you know, whatever you're trying to achieve with the production value of it. Not to mention which take to send, not to mention, you know, your reader or your coach or whatever has sort of told you which take to send, and that's gotten in your head, whatever. They're easy to overthink. However, there's a difference between somebody who has weird technical issues. I mean, there's a big learning curve for the technical side of self-taping versus somebody who, the biggest issue I see with self-taping is that people do way too much in an effort to stand out. And it's schmacking, as I like to say.
Schmacking.
Schmacking. There's a lot of schmacking. And it doesn't work. It's never going to work for you. It will almost always work against you. So there's that. But again, all of this comes with experience and learning and whatever. So I'm not going to assume that if somebody does a bad self-tape that they're a bad actor or a bad auditioner. It's just one of those things where it's a weird circumstance that people need to, it's a muscle. It's such a different muscle than an in-person audition, different muscle than being on set, different muscle than being on stage. Those are 4 different things. Okay. So, so I sort of forgive the fact that there's a learning curve to it. But again, that might make me hesitate before I ask to see you, you know, self-tape again. You know, to give you a chance to go through it. But no, I mean, there, and similarly with in-person auditions, and you know this very well, Romney, is that there's an obvious difference between somebody who's having a bad day and somebody who is not ready.
Totally.
It's very clear. So we're, you know, we're always on your side with that stuff, and neither of those things mean that we aren't going to see you again.
Right.
If we're having a bad day, we'll definitely see you again. If you're green, we will see you again as well. Maybe not immediately. You know. So the only thing for me that has ever stopped me from bringing somebody in again is a lack of professionalism. And that, you know, bringing a weapon into a room, or being horribly rude to me or my staff. You know, anything like that. That's the only thing that'll keep me from seeing somebody again. Otherwise, it's just a matter of time.
I think another thing, and this doesn't necessarily keep me from wanting to see someone again, but I have noticed a few times, maybe more than a few times, but actors getting defensive over direction because, you know, they're taking it as you did the wrong thing, now do the right thing. Whereas you don't have the information that we have or a conversation that we just had with the producer that is going to change what you did.
Right.
You know, I get that a lot in just any classes that I teach. I'm sure that you teach a lot. People get very defensive over that.
You know, I found, and this could be because you're young and gorgeous, Romney, but when I was younger and sort of a baby casting director, I would get that look a lot. And I couldn't wait to grow up.
That's so interesting.
For people to take me more seriously.
You know, I do. Yeah, that's so interesting.
You know, and it could be because you're a young woman, and if you were a young man, and maybe
we're only a couple years apart, by the way. You know, in case anyone's wondering.
She's so useful. But you know, we don't need to get into the politics of all of that. But but that could be part of it. The other part that I have sensed is that I think so often people think casting directors are a hurdle they have to get over as opposed to being a collaborator. And so they're like, well, that doesn't sound right. Like, why are you giving me that note?
Right.
As opposed to, we're trying to give you this note to help you get this job. But they're so used to thinking of us as sort of the opposing team that it's almost defensive, you know, where they're just, it's a mechanism, you know, they don't mean to be that way, sort of ingrained in there.
I do notice, to be fair, I do notice that more in classes when I'm not familiar with the material. And so I'm giving my own perspective and they're like, oh, well, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, fine, great. You know, I mean, that's fine. Sometimes it'll happen in the room, or they'll say, oh, I did that choice because of this, which is fine. And that makes sense. We understand that, you know, you don't have to defend yourself. It's just, you didn't know. Of course you didn't. You don't have the script.
And that's the thing, right? Is that if we give you a no, it doesn't mean you did something wrong.
Yeah.
You know, we want to try something different or see something different, or maybe we just got a note that is very different than what's on the page and we're going to guide you into it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many things.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't be taken as a, why did you do that?
Yeah.
You know, it's a, that was cool. Let's try this.
Yeah. And that's true. A lot of times sometimes the direction will not necessarily go with what you see in the script, and just trust that we know what we're talking. There's a reason behind it. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten notes back from producers. Like this just happened recently where the scene is very, very bitchy. Like the character is written very bitchy. And the note that we got was, we really want to see like more warmth coming from like a really just down to earth, genuine person. And I'm like, okay. No problem. You know, so then we'll come and we'll tell the actors saying, just try to make him a little bit more, you know, like warm, like inviting. And they're like, oh, because he says, fuck you. You know, it's like, I know. Trust me.
Where this is not an exercise in futility. It's coming from someplace.
I promise I'm not trying to make you look silly in any way.
Right. Exactly.
Somebody asked a really good question. It was a way back. Oh my God, there's so many questions. Oh no, it was way back there. Okay, here it is. No one's really asked this question before, and I think it's really interesting because I think there's a lot of different situations that this could pertain to, but I think it's a good question. And it's, how do we feel about people turning down auditions or declining? And I'm going to say either after they've read the script or before they've read the script, because a lot of times I have actors who will pass on a role solely because they think that by taking another co-star role, it's then going to make us never cast them as a guest star.
Right. So here's the thing. I don't mind if you pass on the role before the audition, but if you audition and then pass on the job, that's a problem.
Yeah.
That's bad.
And it's
real bad.
Often.
Yes, it does. So if you know you don't want to do it for whatever reason, because it's a co-star or because you don't really love the role or whatever, then don't audition for it.
Yeah.
Just pass before, and that's fine. You know, not every role is for every person. Sometimes you're going to read something and be like, that is not me.
Yeah.
In which case, pass. You know? It's like when chefs don't want to send out a dish that they think is bad. You know, it's the same thing. You don't want to send out an audition or audition for something without being able to connect to it, just for the sake of getting in the room or whatever, if you're going to do a bad job of it. So, you know, so that's fine. But it's when people have sort of gone through the process, been selected, gotten the offer, and then passed.
Yeah.
That to me is more of an issue. Different than, of course, you know, straight offers who pass.
Right.
But people who actually go through the audition process and then pass on the role that they auditioned for.
Yeah.
That said, feel free. You know, make those decisions for yourself. You may get to a point in your career where you don't want to go out for woman number 2 or cop number 3 or uniformed officer Brown or whatever. You know, it doesn't. You may get to that point where you're like, co-star, sure, but maybe unnamed one-liners, no more.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah.
Completely fine. This is a conversation for you to have with your reps so that you are all on the same page, that they're not trying to sell you for something that you're ultimately going to pass on, things like that. So have that conversation. In terms of will we see you for things outside of you know, that are bigger than this role, of course. And I'm sure you can attest to this too, Romney, that in the beginning of my career, you know, when I was on my 3rd season of Criminal Minds, I remembered every single actor I cast from that was like 65 episodes worth of actors. I remembered every single one of them, from the no lines, you know, crying child all the way up, you know. We remember the people we hire. We always do. So even if you are getting hired for a co-star and you're like, oh,
that's so true.
But we're always going to remember and think fondly of you. And see you for other things and whatever. And, you know, I had somebody recently pass on something, and I had to remind, because they were guest star only, or they wanted to hold out for a guest star. And I had to remind them, I was like, this is actually the only episode of this in this region. If you want the shot at being on this show, this is
now or never.
So there are, it's not a black and white question. There are so many shades of gray, and so many different circumstances. You may not want to do the, you know, man number 1, woman number 2 thing anymore, but maybe you would do that on Ozark or Succession or whatever your favorite show is right now, because you're dying to be on that show. Maybe you would do that on your mom's favorite show, you know, who knows? It's just, maybe you need the hours for insurance.
That's what I was just going to say. I mean, even if it's a financial thing, you know, not a one-day co-star isn't going to be a big payday, but if you're just needing some extra money for something, or you're needing to make insurance, there's absolutely no shame in that, and it does not demote you in any way.
No, and so many of these co-stars end up recurring, you know? So, you know, I mean, I think if your character dies, then you have a good idea that it's not recurring. But other than that, you know, I think the door's open. You know, always remember that every role is valuable. And if we're casting an actor for it, it's because we need a good actor for it. You know, and we are treating it with value, and so should you.
Totally.
But it's such a personal decision. So like, you know, when you get to a certain point in your career, just have the conversation with your reps, so everybody's on the same.
That's all great stuff. Instagram is going to kick us off in 3 minutes.
Okay.
So before they do, maybe I can take like a baby. Someone just asked her. I'm just going to throw this out there because it's a good question, especially right now with all these challenges going on. In terms of takes, should you just send, well, certainly for these challenges, always send just 1 take. That would be way too overwhelming to send multiple takes. But in general, when you're self-taping, send 2 contrasting takes or your best take.
Best take. I mean, you only need 1 take to get the role.
Totally.
You know, the 2 takes thing is always so tricky. For me, I only ever ask for 2 on co-stars. I don't want to see 2 on guest stars or regular stuff like that. There's enough there for you to make a choice and pick 1 take. The only time I would ask for 2 on those kinds of roles, if I wanted one with an accent or without an accent, or something very specific to be done in the second take. I'm not going to just kind of leave the door open.
And they will. I mean, in my experience, when we want to contrasting takes, will ask for it. I'm not a big fan of asking for it in general, because many times they're not that contrasting, and I'm sitting there like, which one is better?
They're 2 contrasting, right? One of them is
2 contrasting. So you know yourself, you know, and hopefully your reps are watching them before they send them to us. I know they don't always, but
and you certainly can't rely on them doing so either.
No,
you have to just make that choice for yourself, and you have to follow your instincts on it.
Totally.
You know, your gut is there to help you.
You're amazing. We have a minute left until they cut us off. Thank you for taking the time. This was like, I think, just a big ball of amazing information.
My absolute pleasure, and I just adore you. And
thank you. You know how I feel about you. Erica is doing some of the most amazing challenges on her page, so I'm sure these are all your people anyway. But if you haven't checked it out, check it out, because she's getting a lot of amazing people involved, and it's been so fun and inspiring and amazing. And I'm excited to see what you come up with.
Yeah, me too.
So,
we'll see. I'll post something next week.
Okay, I'm excited to see you.
All right.
Thank you again. Take
My
care.
pleasure.
Be safe.
My pleasure.
Give the little one
You
a
too.
big kiss.
Ditto.
Bye.
Bye.